Hi, I'm Terrence Bird. At HealthFirst New Jersey, we believe everyone should be informed about the important healthcare issues that affect them and their families. That's why HealthFirst is proud to support programming produced by the Caucus Educational Corporation.
Understanding your options for weight loss, next on Caucus, New Jersey.
Funding for this edition of Caucus, New Jersey has been provided by Hackensack University Medical Center, HealthFirst New Jersey, PSC&G, committed to improving New Jersey's economy and strengthening its communities. Roche, Bloomfield College, offering small classes and big opportunities since 1868. And by the Russell Berry Foundation.
Welcome to Caucus, New Jersey. I'm Steve Adubato. You know, there are many myths surrounding bariatric surgeries, but here to clear many of those myths up are Marjorie Nolan-Cohn, who is National Spokesperson, Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, Dr. Hans Schmidt, Director of Bariatric Surgery, Hackensack University Medical Center, Jennifer Bronsnick, who is Licensed Clinical Social Worker and Clinical Coach for Mindful Mommy, and Josephine, in Italian it is Cioccia, and in English it is?
Cioccia.
For those who are following along at home. And you are a bariatric surgery patient, right?
I am.
I want to thank you for joining us. And by the way, throughout this program, you will see information at the bottom of your screen. Doctor, before we went on the air here at public television, I was saying that Josephine had a certain kind of surgery. I said she had lap band surgery, and you said, Steve, let's be technically correct. What is technically correct and what is wrong about what I said?
There's two different bands on the market. There's the lap band, brand band, and the Realize brand band. So really we try to call it gastric banding because the two of them are grouped together.
Okay. Why did you have what you had?
I had the surgery because I was dysfunctional at the weight that I was carrying, and I could not function normally in everyday, daily activities.
In 2010, you had this surgery.
I did.
You lost 142 pounds, and according to what you told our producers, quote, I still have a long way to go.
I do.
You do?
I do. I would like to, I'll never be thin, I don't think, but I would like to lose at least another 40 or 50 pounds, just health-wise, more than what I look like. I want to be more healthy.
What I'm curious about is what made Josephine a candidate for it, and what would make someone else watching right now who struggles? There's a very high number of people who are overweight, very large number of people who are, high percentage of people who are obese. What makes certain people candidates and others not for bariatric surgery?
Initially, you have to be basically heavy enough for bariatric surgery, and we calculate a BMI. It's the body mass index, and it's a height-weight ratio. You can go on the internet and just there's many different places to calculate it. But anybody with a BMI over 40 is considered morbidly obese, and that's the weight at which medical problems start developing because of your obesity.
Can you do that yourself, or can you get to that number yourself, or test and get to the number yourself, or do you have to go in and have professionals determine what that number is?
It's just, it's all you need is your height and your weight, and then it's just got to be calculated off of that. So you can calculate it basically on a website is the easiest way to do it.
Did you know?
I did not know. I know that now, but I did not know that at the time.
And real quick, before I come to the side of the group, how much different do you feel today than the way you felt before you had the surgery in 2010?
I feel a million times better today than I did 2.5 years ago.
Physically?
Physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, in every way.
Spiritually?
Well, I know that I could not have done this alone. So spiritually, I feel that my life has a direction and that I have guidance in what I do.
Jennifer, I want to ask you, tell us about your organization.
Sure. Mindful Mommy is an organization that helps and supports mothers to be happy, healthy parents so they can raise happy, healthy children.
And what's the discussion, or what's the connection to this whole discussion about weight and obesity and the connection to
Sure.
potential bariatric surgery?
Yeah, a lot of my patients that I work with, they are not necessarily at that 40 BMI, but they're at a place where they're not feeling healthy. They've had kids recently, or not so recently, but haven't lost the baby weight, then had more kids and kept that baby weight on. And so it's working with them with their diet and also mainly lifestyle and their mental health around their weight.
Their mental health?
Yeah, I mean, people are generally become overweight because of the food, because of our society, because of the convenience and those issues. But then also there's that side of things where things in life can be out of balance, and sometimes food becomes the treatment when we're looking for some way to feel good. And food is right there, and it makes us feel good right away.
Talk about your organization.
I'm from the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. We're about 72,000 dietitians across the country and other nutrition professionals, and I'm a spokesperson for the Academy. I also have a private practice in New York City, and I work primarily with eating disorders, and I've had a lot of post-bariatric patients who are dealing with eating disorder issues. It's a relatively small population. However, I'm seeing the worst of the worst. So this is definitely something that, deserves a lot of talking about.
Let's break this down. Bariatric surgery, gastric bypass,
Correct.
and the lap band surgery.
Correct.
Okay.
There's a third.
Go ahead.
The sleeve gastrectomy. It's a newer operation. It's been
The sleeve,
sleeve gastrectomy.
how new?
It's been done for about 10 years, but commonly done for about 3, I would say.
Okay. Break them down, each one. Gastric bypass.
Gastric bypass. First of all, all the surgeries are done laparoscopically, meaning through little keyhole incisions, 5 little incisions. And the gastric bypass involves making a new little stomach about the size of an egg, but it involves an intestinal bypass, so there's some malabsorption of nutrients.
Whoa, malabsorption, that, you made a face for that, right? Malabsorption of nutrients. What does that mean?
It means that you don't absorb 100% of what you eat because we've bypassed part of the intestine.
Okay. Is it dangerous?
It can be, yeah.
Under what conditions?
Well, it's probably the most risky of the operations to perform, just for surgical complications, but it does require lifelong nutritional follow-up because there is a high rate of B12 deficiency, iron deficiency, and certain other vitamin deficiencies. So it requires really intense follow-up over your lifetime.
Okay, and the next surgery?
Yeah, the next surgery we talked about is the band.
Describe it.
It's just wrapping a plastic balloon around the upper part of your stomach. The balloon can be adjusted, it can be loosened, and it can be tightened.
Depending upon?
How much you're eating. If you're eating too much, we make it tighter. If you're not eating, if you're eating not enough, we can make it looser. It's probably the safest operation surgically, but it requires the most follow-up on the part of the patient because really the success of the band comes down to how much effort the patient puts into losing weight.
Before we go into the third surgery, I'm curious, Josephine. Yes. You've obviously done very well with the surgery. It's been 2 years, right?
2.5.
2.5. What changes did you make after the surgery with respect to your diet?
I made drastic changes in my diet. The fact that I was even so much heavier than I am now indicates the type of foods that I ate. I would, without question, start off my morning with a bagel and cream cheese, and then mid-morning, break time at school, I might have another bagel.
At school, your job?
I'm a teacher.
Do you mind having pictures of yourself before?
No, not at
You
all.
don't? And there's a picture of you. This is pre?
Yes, this
Okay,
is,
come on.
there are 2 of them.
I know Bob Morris, our 20-year-plus director. We're actually celebrating our 25th anniversary as we do this show, and I don't know if we're going to have Bob Morris after this. This is, okay. Steve, do you have the ability to do this? These are both? Keep talking, by the way.
The years are on there. One is from 2007, and the other one, I believe, I can't read.
This is
2006.
140 pounds plus.
About 144. I could have even been bigger than when I actually went, because I tried to diet a little bit before I went for the surgery.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. Oh, it was recommended that you try to do that. Wasn't
Okay,
easy.
so what are you eating today that you were not eating before? That you did the bagel before?
I would have bagel,
you
then
did-
I would have lunch. I would stop on my way home and maybe have a burger at
On
a
your way
fast
home?
food. Oh yeah,
Before
as a
dinner?
snack. Oh yeah.
Okay.
And then I would have dinner, and maybe before I went to bed,
Any exercising there?
I did not do any exercising.
Okay.
there.
Today?
Today, I don't have that bagel because it will make me sick. Not that I wouldn't like to have it, because I would. But I might have a yogurt, an egg or an egg substitute. Lunch, I'm big on soups. I'll have some chicken, fish. And dinner, I eat shrimp.
Dessert?
Dessert, I'm not going to lie in front of the doctor. I don't have it
Good
every day.
idea. What do you do for dessert?
Well, a dessert is not every day, but I will sometimes have a cookie. Or a cookie, a couple of cookies.
Okay. Do you
but
exercise?
I do. I just began in the beginning of the summer, and I was going every single day. I've been a little under the weather, so I haven't gone in a couple of days.
But your normal routine is to work out, is
my
exercise.
is every day, for 30 to 40 minutes.
Any
a day.
limitations?
At this point, no.
You work, what's that?
Star patient.
She is a star
She is,
patient.
absolutely.
What kind of advice do you give them?
It always goes back to the basics. A lot of times when I'm seeing a client who's post-bariatric,
And it depends
they-
upon which surgery, again. I just want to be clear. Go ahead.
Yes, post-surgery, they've kind of slipped back into old habits.
Really?
Oh, quite a bit. And I think, and I'd love to hear, the doctor speak on this, but the statistics for people who gain a significant amount of weight back is actually quite high, higher than most people realize.
After the surgery?
Yes, for sure. And I've worked with a lot of people. Again, I've seen the worst of the worst because I do work with people with eating disorders. And if the psychological component of an eating disorder is not dealt with, to try to match that up to the physical capacity of the body is, I mean, you're working on two completely different levels. I've worked with one client's coming to mind who had such a need to binge, but could not binge on foods anymore that she was used to,
Right.
because she can't eat bagels anymore. But she figured out that, I don't know what type of surgery she had, I don't recall at this point, but she was capable of binging on a half a jar of peanut butter.
Oh, no.
And ice
so,
cream, you could do it too.
Oh, boy.
And people cause dumping
Yeah.
on purpose as a way to purge the foods that they've been eating.
So, doctor, let me ask you, how is it when you are screening for the patients who are candidates for bariatric surgery, and can you even predict or have a high degree of predictability as to who would be likely to engage in such activities and who would be more of a model, not a perfect, but more of a model patient?
Unfortunately, it's hard to predict in advance. I mean, we do know that maybe, everybody will gain 10 to 20% of what they've lost back again.
That's normal?
Yeah, so if you lose 100 pounds,
I'm
maybe
not
you
gonna
gain
do
10 or
that.
20
Okay,
pounds
but
back.
she just said not
I'm not
me.
She
gonna
is
do
not.
that.
She is
Okay,
not.
okay.
Right. Fortunately, most of our patients are not binge eaters. I mean, that is
Right,
a very
right.
small subgroup.
That's
and we
not the norm.
Right.
That's not the norm, and we
Right.
try not to operate on people that are binge eaters because it's really a psychological problem, and really not so much a physical, problem. And they're going to be binge eaters. You have to address the problem of the binge eating,
Yeah.
not really just the fact that they eat too much.
And
So.
in the assessment beforehand, also, you'd want to, find out from them, like, what are their coping mechanisms? Are there, what are they going to do with their life once they've lost all the weight?
Talk
What's
about
going
that.
to change for
You look-
them?
how much of your organization, how much of the work do you get involved in that deals with the psychological profile of these women?
Oh, everything I do is
So what are you looking
part-
for? Do you ask people why they eat?
Yeah, I mean, you're looking for their life as sort of like a circle with different sections. So
For example?
their spiritual life, like you said, their creativity, their work, their relationships. You're looking at all those different sections, and food is certainly one of those big, sections
only
of
women,
their
though.
life. Women and a couple men.
Hold on.
But everybody has
Your
that.
organization,
Is Mindful Mommy. That's
Okay,
correct.
but-
But I also
all right.
have a few male patients that I've
okay,
taken with
keep going,
me.
I'm curious.
Yeah, so we work together to come up with a plan, like where is their life out of balance? If they're only using food to cope, that's clearly out of balance with, when they could be doing a creative outlet, or, maybe they just need a hug more often, or they need a friend or a relationship or love. I mean, people are so lacking in those areas.
And you tie that to issues of food. and being overweight and obesity?
Of course, it's all connected.
Comfort.
Yeah,
Comfort.
everything's connected.
It's so funny. Sometimes, my producers don't like when I do this, but sometimes at night, don't you like when the conversation starts? Sometimes at night, when everyone else is asleep. Right? Right?
I know what you're going to say.
You do?
I think.
Well, here's the deal. And being Italian, all right, let me just say this. And then I work out every day, do what I'm supposed to do on the fitness side, and I try to eat right and do the right thing. And vanity is a powerful motivator. But that being said, because you're on television, but I will tell you, when I know that my wife and the kids are sleeping, I do bad things. I go into the freezer and I look for low-fat ice cream sandwiches, and I will eat an obscene, illegal number of them. And I will blame it on our 8 and 10-year-old sons the next morning when my wife says, what happened to these?
Right.
They're always, low-fat, and I'll say, what are you even looking at me for? Do I look like I ate those? And I'll accuse my sons of them, and they'll be looking at each other like they'll start blaming each other. I know I need to see someone professionally about this, doctor.
I think you need to see her.
But how many of us are doing weird stuff like that late at night?
So emotional eating
I'm not that
is
hungry.
good, is fine. Emotional eating is okay.
To a
It
degree.
is, but not overeating. There's a difference. You can eat and you can sit down and have that piece of chocolate and an ice cream bar
What's
and
over
full fat.
eating?
Over would be, like between one
wait till I get
bar
sick
and
from it?
5 bars. When you feel terrible the next day, when you black out and you wake up and you're like, oh my gosh, what are these wrappers?
But that's, don't we want to stop it before it gets to that point?
Right.
Yes.
I mean, and again, doctor, and again, if someone has the bariatric surgery, by the way, the third one is?
The sleeve gastrectomy.
Any limitations after, and I promise I'll come back to the ice cream sandwiches.
The sleeve gastrectomy is simply reducing the volume of the stomach. There's no bypass, so there's no malabsorption, and there's no foreign body because the band is actually an implantable device.
Any limits on how much I can eat again?
Yeah, of course there is.
Again.
That's the whole point of the surgery. That's the whole point of the surgery, to decrease the amount of food that you eat.
Does it make me less hungry? I don't want to eat the 4 ice cream sandwiches.
It does.
Will you stop making the faces? By the way, what's your weakness?
Ice cream and potato chips.
Not together.
Sometimes.
Really? Which one
Not
first?
anymore. Potato chips.
And then you wash it down with the ice cream.
Well, no, I don't do that, but I would like to. I mean, there are times that I do have.
Okay.
I won't have it together, but there are times that I'll have, a little bag of potato chips, or I'll have a scoop of ice cream. The point is, 2.5 years ago, I would have eaten
Before the
surgery, I would have eaten a gallon of ice cream after everything else, and eaten a couple of bags of potato chips.
Let me ask you, again, obviously there are a lot of issues going on here. As you were eating the gallon of ice cream, was there a part of you that knew deep inside, like, this isn't right? I'm not even hungry for this after the first God knows what.
Yes. Intellectually, I was aware of all the bad habits and all the circumstances that I should have been avoiding. But emotionally, I chose to do it.
So here's my question. You knew that intellectually, because you're smart, you're professional, educator, how much pressure do you think there is on people who make the decision to go for bariatric surgery from people around them who say, you gave up? There's a young woman on, I can't believe we're on public television, I'm quoting the Real Housewives of New Jersey. What an oxymoron that is. But there's a young woman who got some sort of gastric bypass surgery, and she looks terrific. But some of the other characters on the show were giving her heat, like, you gave up. You're a young woman in her early 20s, you gave up. You should have worked harder, you should have dieted, you should have exercised. She was like, I did all that, and this was the best way to go for me. What should other people in the family and their friends, people who care, and I'm not talking about the haters, what should people be doing who want to be helpful to the person who says, I think this is best for me?
Well, obviously supporting the person, and depending on the situation, when I'm working with clients, I always encourage them to talk to their family members around holidays or visits, any situation where there's food around. And one of the things that I think you were kind of referring to is the mind-body connection, and the same area of our brain that gets pleasure from alcohol and drugs and sex is the same area that gets pleasure from food. So they're all interconnected, and that's part of what's going on. You cognitively know you can't eat these foods, but it doesn't mean that you're not seeking the pleasure of them and how it's all intertwined.
But we have to, okay, hold on. The difference between alcohol and drugs is that you don't have to do those things. But the food, in all seriousness, you have to.
You have to.
So that's what's tricky about it, right, Doc?
That's one of the hardest parts, because food is everywhere. It's a part of our life. It's a part of our culture. Holidays happen over
Some
the dinner
cultures
table,
more than others.
right? Yeah, absolutely.
You can't live without
Absolutely.
it.
Go
You
ahead.
live
So
without
therefore,
alcohol.
Yeah.
you grow up in a culture where it's you're stuffed. My grandmother was like, eat.
Yep.
And therefore,
Yep.
we're
It's nurturing,
eating
right?
beyond
Food is love.
Yeah.
food. And that food is about so much more than food sometimes, no?
But we eat too much in America. The portion sizes are too big. I mean, there's such accessibility to food all the time. It used to be that poor people were skinny because they couldn't afford food. Everybody can afford junk food now, and it's available 24 hours a day. The drive-ins are open 24 hours a day. You can get food cheaply anywhere now.
Yeah.
Doctor, what advice do you give, not just to your patients the patients for bariatric surgery, but for the family members, for those who are closest to your patients? What do you tell them? Because you are a very powerful, important voice in this process.
Well, it's got to be a whole lifestyle change. It can't just be eat less. Once you get to a BMI of 40, we talked about earlier, that's
The body
about
mass index.
That's about 100 pounds overweight. So, I mean, once you get 100 pounds overweight, it's very hard to lose that weight simply by dieting. To lose 100 pounds on your own is really, really hard. Only about 5% of the people can maybe lose it and keep it off for 2 years. So, I mean, those are the people that we see for surgery. I mean, you probably, when you decided to have surgery, you probably pretty much kind of gave up on the idea when you were eating this huge amount of food. It probably didn't matter to you anymore because you knew you weren't going to be able to.
It was hopeless.
It was hopeless because you knew
Many
that even
diets?
by cutting out
Oh,
a
yeah.
bagel,
Many,
it's
many
not gonna
diets.
really
Go ahead.
affect-
Go ahead, Doc, I'm sorry.
Yeah, even cutting out a bagel is not really going to affect your weight one way or the other. So my advice to the family is support to change the whole household, to change the way you buy food, the way you bring food in, the way you prepare food. It's really got to be supporting on so many different ways. I mean, exercise, right? I mean, there's so many different levels that it affects.
And we have, sorry for interrupting, we have small children, and we really do have to start with our kids. And that's such a cliche, but it's so true, right?
Yeah.
We can't just say, they're kids. It's not a big deal. We'll wait till later, because they get into certain habits and they can pick up this extra weight. And the whole idea of baby fat, that's
Not so much anymore.
a myth. Talk about myths. It's not true.
No, and childhood obesity is growing at just astronomical rates. I mean, it's starting younger and younger, and children are now having grown-up diseases like type 2 diabetes
Yes.
and high blood pressure and heart disease at, even pre-teens because of obesity. So, it's definitely something that starts at home. And it starts with our children, but it starts with us first, because we're the ones.
We're the bad role models sometimes.
We're the role models. Yeah.
By the way, mothers are key to this, no?
Oh, huge. Mothers run everything, They're
Because-
in charge of the house, the kids, the food.
They feel a lot of pressure, don't they?
Yeah.
Do moms
hard.
sometimes eat just because it takes away some of the pressure?
Well, it's like moms are rushed. It's hard to think of what's a quick, healthy meal. It's much easier to go to the drive-through, or when you've got 3 kids, one kid wants this. It's overwhelming for them. And like you and your ice cream sandwiches,
Thanks for reminding
moms
me. Go ahead.
sometimes moms need that. They need the end of the day, that unwinding, and it's easy to go to the ice cream sandwich
Yep.
rather than go to a friend. and
You've
say,
you've provided such an important public service, but the really bad thing about this show is that I realize now that my wife knows, and I can't blame it on my kids anymore. Thank you very much. Thanks for watching. Now let's continue the conversation about this and other important topics and issues on Facebook. Visit my page at facebook.com/Steve Adubato, PhD.
The preceding program has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating 25 years of broadcast excellence. N13 for WNET, NJTV, and WHYY. Funding for this edition of Caucus, New Jersey has been provided by Hackensack University Medical Center, HealthFirst New Jersey, PSC&G, committed to improving New Jersey's economy and strengthening its communities. Roche, Bloomfield College, offering small classes and big opportunities since 1868. And by the Russell Berry Foundation. Promotional support provided by NJ Biz, All Business, All New Jersey, The Star Ledger and NJ.com, Everything Jersey. And by New Jersey Monthly, the magazine of the Garden State, available at newsstands. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. Caucus, New Jersey has been produced in partnership with TriStar Studios.
There is a place that pushes beyond traditional thinking to take medicine further than ever before, where science and creativity work together to give heart and cancer patients new possibilities, and researchers discover options for children who once had none. A place that proves every day that impossible is just an opinion. Hackensack University Medical Center, where medicine meets innovation.
Hello, I'm Rafael P. Roman.
And I'm Steve Adubato.
Join us every week on New Jersey Capitol Report.
Because we'll ask the questions that you want and need answered.
Airing on NJTV, 13, and WHYY. Check your local listings.